Hello and welcome to the Spark podcast, the voice of the Electrical Trades Union. I'm Phil Cleary, and it's Sorry Day here in Australia, a very big step forward for Australian people, the chance to put right some of the wrongs of the past. We're going to go down to Fed Square to talk to people, black and white, about what this means to them. But first, we're going to talk to Dean Rioli, former champion Essendon footballer and now Indigenous apprenticeship officer with the Electrical Trades Union.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel on the day. I knew it was going to be an emotional day. But then I sat down with my mum, who's not Indigenous at all. She's a white lady. Obviously, she, married my dad and had 3 Indigenous kids, and she was on the couch just crying her eyes out.
Really?
And which made me, it really tug at the heartstrings. So it was a very emotional day for myself and everyone I spoke to. Yeah, well, I grew up on Garden Point in Melbourne Island, and the whole community was a mission for young Indigenous people taken away from their families, and they were brought to Garden Point, which was an Italian missionary. So they grew up and learnt the ways that the government wanted them to, I suppose. That's why they got taken away, to try and live the white man's way, and that's where I grew up. My grandfather and them were taken away also. It is a very deep and hurtful experience that they have gone through. So the whole thing is, every time I have brought it up, or my father has tried to bring it up to his father, and it's just something that no one talks about. Anyone who does downplay it, I don't care who it is, that they will never ever know. I just always try and feel what they felt. But yes. For me, I just feel as if if I got taken away, or if my daughter gets taken away from me, that's where it would hurt more. It's not so much the people that got taken away. You don't
Yes.
just feel for them, because they're the ones that are hurting, but you feel from the parents that the kids got taken away from also. This isn't the answer, but it is a giant step. It's not just, we've got to make small steps to work together, but this is a giant step for us to begin to work on the things that we need to improve in Indigenous and not Indigenous relationships. Sorry has been said, so now we can move forward, and that was a huge step for a lot of people that I've spoken to, so it's a good feeling.
I never thought that I would see this day where an Australian government would stand up and correct all the immoral and unjust things that we've done to a race of people for 200 years.
It was a fantastic moment, and I think to me it's this is just a start, and people can start moving on and healing within themselves now.
Look, I don't know how many times I've said it already this morning, but it is incredibly emotional. This is my story. I'm from Stolen Generation, experienced the abuse of all forms. I was thinking of my mum and dad who died too young. My dad died of alcohol poisoning. He had 7 kids taken away from him.
Sure.
Our grandparents had all the grandkids taken away, and to hear this sorry in my lifetime has been absolutely powerful.
Well, I feel this is the proudest I've ever had in my life. I'm feeling very, very. I've always felt equal to anyone, but I felt even more stronger now because people are acknowledging about the history of what happened in this country. We've got a leader like this guy now that spoke today,
Yes.
and I've got a lot of respect for him. He spoke the truth about the history.
We think that it's a great step forward to the reconciliation progress, the apologising to the Aboriginal people, and we just want to be here to support them and show that we feel the same way.
I was crying before. I came up and hugged a lady and she hugged me, and I just think it's wonderful.
It is exciting because I think this is the very first time that we've been recognised, and that's the recognition. It's been fantastic. Yes.
But I think that what was said today was the first step. It was the beginning of an end, but what we said today was the first step towards a new beginning, and I really believe that. I'm not a Rudd fan, but I was struck by his sincerity.
It's going to be a very big step, and I hope that everybody starts to look within themselves, because it's an individual thing. It doesn't start as a government, it starts as individuals. So everybody just starts looking within themselves and start healing themselves, and then they can start, uniting as a group, as a group of ill people.
I mean, I was a trained midwife. I couldn't imagine taking children from their mother, and that really got to my heart. And that just sets people up for things like alcoholism and drug addiction. I really think we should be more empathetic towards Aborigines, and I'd like to see us coming together.
Yeah, well, I was taken away from my mother.
You were?
Yeah. And
how old?
I was 7 years old. Yeah, and I was taken, and then it just, I don't know, things were just a bit different. I was brought up with white people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm the founding director of the Australian Institute for Loss and Grief, so I've been working on my healing for 20 years, and I had to, for my own emotional well-being and my spiritual well-being, I had to forgive, but not before I did a massive amount of grieving.
Sure.
So I had to get angry.
Sure.
I had to honour my anger
Sure.
for what happened to me. I had to honour my sadness for what happened to me and my parents.
Everyone needs to understand, even if we are young, we still get taught about these things, and you still have to sort of empathise with how they feel.
I lived on a mission, and it was very controlled, yes. Mission life for me was very good because I had my family, and that part of it, that nourished my soul as an Indigenous woman, as a child. So I was lucky to have my grandparents there to nurture me along the way, yes.
Brendan Nelson's speech, you were critical of that?
Yeah, I was listening on the train coming in, and I really started to reflect on the people that had, in their well-meaning, way had gone and removed people and followed bureaucratic policy and how they felt. And I thought he's going at a tangent, and really the focus should be on the people that were removed.
And I didn't turn my back on
Nelson, yeah.
Nelson.
Some did, yes.
Yeah, and I didn't turn it because I didn't want to hear what he said. I wanted to stay there and listen to what he said. And it's okay for me. It's okay what he said. Because he's not quite ready there to really honour the injustices, and that's probably why he's not the Prime Minister anyway. So he's just not ready. And I think the same with Howard. I'm glad Howard didn't apologise, because it wouldn't have come from the place in his heart.
Rednecks really made me get stronger, because they told me that we couldn't do this and we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
As soon as they told me things like that, I'd done the opposite. So, and then at the age of 28, I picked up a paintbrush and I started doing paintings and stuff like that. Then I started to travel the world doing exhibitions all over the world.
It's instilled in me to be proud of who I am and where I've come from, and always to walk with pride, because I was given that love to continue my journey into adulthood.
Look, I think that it's one step at a time. Like, it's taken how many years to get to hearing this apology from a really spiritual place in one man's heart, even though Australia is right behind him. Otherwise they wouldn't have voted him in. So why not just sit back and wait, because the Australian climate and the emotional climate of the Australian people might get more and more compassionate and say, you know what, I think it's time for a compensation as well. But that might take 5-10 years down the track. But I think it'll happen in my lifetime.
I don't think we should really think of compensation at this given time. Let's start with the apology and accepting that, and start working on ourselves as individuals and start healing and working together. Yeah.
Conversation meaning I'd like the part of equal opportunity for the people to be able to get the good jobs. But first they need the education, and then the health, and all the good jobs and all the stuff will come as well.
So you think the financial compensation should be on the table?
Yeah, definitely. On the table at least. When Brendan Nelson said that they shouldn't get compensation either. You can't just wipe it off. And you can see how Australia feels about it. The whole Federation crowd turned their backs. They just think he's a bloody pig.
Did you turn your back?
Yes, we did. We pulled out the speakers.
You've nailed your colours to the mast. All the best to you.
Thank you very much. It's a great day.